Good morning, everyone. We have some breaking news as House Republicans have voted to deport U.S. citizens. House Republicans have voted down an effort to block immigration enforcers from using federal resources to detain or deport U.S. citizens. During a House Judiciary Committee meeting on Wednesday, Democrats and Republicans voted on an amendment introduced by Representative Pramila Jayapal. The Democrat from Washington sought to make clear that ICE cannot detain or deport U.S. citizens under any circumstance. All Republicans voted for this, and all Democrats voted against it. Republicans have voted to deport their own citizens. They have voted to deport you, who pays their salaries and who votes them into office. You pay them to do their job, and they voted to deport you. This is not okay. If you want to vote to deport me or any American citizen, I don't think you should get paid, especially if we're the ones who pay your bills. Your job is to work in the best interest of the American people, and the Republican Party has failed to do so here, just like they have failed time and time again. It is so aggravating me. I'm trying to block the glare with my hand, but it is so aggravating to me to, this is the job that I want to do. When I graduate college, this is the job that I want to do. And you see these Republican representatives voting against their own constituents. I mean, why? You are voted in to work for the American people. That is the sole purpose of your job, to put yourself in front of the American people. Yet you are consumed by money, greed, and power. You can't do your job correctly and protect your constituents that pay your bills. They voted you in so you can have a job and a livelihood. I genuinely, the fact that the Republican Party is able to just do all this shit and not feel any remorse for their constituents and the people who vote them in is insane. And the fact that they're able to get away with it is even more insane. The fact that they are still able to be voted into office after all of the bullshit that they do is insane.
When it comes to immigration, President Trump issued a flurry of executive orders on day one, and he hasn't stopped since, with 2 more issued just yesterday. White House officials say these policies are working as intended, with 139,000 unauthorized immigrants deported in the president's first 100 days.
The new signs lining the White House driveway are meant to send a message. 100 unauthorized immigrants arrested for violent crimes in the past 100 days. In Miami, ICE officials said, quote, nearly 800 illegal aliens were arrested during the first 4 days of Operation Tidal Wave, a new partnership between state and federal law enforcement.
You cannot hide from ICE. We're actively looking for you.
President Trump's border czar, Tom Homan, said the president's aggressive immigration policies are having the desired effect, with daily border apprehensions down 94% since last March. The number of gotaways, migrants who evade Border Patrol as they enter the U.S., has dropped from 1,800 a day last year to 38 a day now.
38 too many? We'll get that to 0. But we want from 1,800 to 38.
A new CBS News poll shows 56% of Americans approve of Trump's plan to deport immigrants who came to the U.S. illegally. But approval for his overall handling of immigration has slipped to 49%, amidst high-profile controversies over detained student visa holders and deportations to a prison in El Salvador. In a new interview, President Trump was asked whether some people might get detained by mistake. Let me tell you, he said, that nothing will ever be perfect in this world.
We are unapologetically continuing with an agenda of mass deportation.
Stephen Miller is Trump's deputy chief of staff.
How should we think about the fact that we're now seeing people like mothers being deported with their American citizen kids? Have the priorities changed?
When we talk about priority, of course, ICE's priority is identifying public safety threats. But priority does not mean that we're also providing amnesty to illegal immigrants in general. Mass deportation means mass deportation.
The two new executive orders Trump signed last night are designed to force sanctuary cities to cooperate with Trump policy and to encourage more legal action against state or local officials who obstruct immigration enforcement. It comes just a few days after a judge in Wisconsin was arrested and accused of helping a man evade federal aid.
Real fast before I get any comments on my video about the House of Representatives voting to allow Trump deportation of U.S. citizens. I said it a little bit wrong. I went back and did a little bit of research. What had happened was that a House representative from Washington state had put an addendum had proposed an addendum to the budget bill. The budget, and this addendum said, yo, homies, we aren't going to deport U.S. citizens, and I guess we need to have this again in writing because MAGA's fucking already doing it. So, listen, yo, let's just put this in. Like, let's sign our names to it again. Because obviously, the MAGA's not understanding that this is a no-no. We don't do this. That is what was shot down by MAGA. So it wasn't that they voted for a bill that would allow deportation. They voted no against a bill that would protect U.S. citizens that was attached to the U.S. budget plan. Does that make sense? Okay, I just don't want the comments. Regardless, MAGA is a bunch of parasite thugs. They are the most horrible of horrible people. They are vile. Anybody, regardless of if it's attached to a bill or not, that would vote against protecting U.S. citizens is vile. They're also the same people that did not raise their hand when it was asked, is it wrong to deport U.S. citizen children who are in pediatric cancer care? They were like, no, Holmes, that's good. We're good with that. We are good. So, yeah, I have negative amounts of respect for anybody who follows this cult. Like, negative. Me and you can't be homies because I can't. When I was young, quick story. When I was really young, like 12. Honestly, this mom has some problems, but I ended up being a babysitter. I was only 12 to a little boy who had pediatric cancer. And his mom was going through some things. Single mom of 3 kids. All of them had different dads, and she was running wild. And probably a lot of it was to just denial of the circumstances. But her little boy ended up dying when I was 15, and I was very involved in his life because she would go on weekends, the whole weekend, and do whatever she needed to do, and I would be there. And I, at 12, was giving this little boy his medications through feeding tubes and IVs and things like that. So anyway, the idea, the inhumanity of MAGA to say they don't give a shit about a child, U.S. citizen or not, that they would deny a child care that would save their life, makes me want to vomit. It's the most disgusting of humans' existence. It is no different than shaving children's heads and putting them in gas chambers, and stripping them naked, and removing all humanity and dignity that they have. And that is what this cult does. They are the vilest of vile. And I don't know how I can't stay silent. I don't know how I could be silent. I'm sorry, I said that wrong. I just don't know how. And I'm criticized a lot because I'm very vocal, and I don't know how anybody can sit through this phase of the human experience and this time frame and this matrix that we're in and think any of this is okay. Any of it. Literally like 1 ounce of it. None of it is okay. Anything that MAGA is doing is vile.
Okay, well, this is being reported by just about every news outlet in existence. The GOP has voted to allow ICE to detain and deport U.S. citizens. You heard me right. But before I continue, please be sure to comment, share, and like. It's important that we stay connected. Stay with me, folks. This is another long one. Now, during a House Judiciary Committee meeting on Wednesday, Democrats tabled amendments to a sweeping budget bill that President Donald Trump has dubbed One Big Beautiful Bill. One amendment to this budget bill was introduced by Representative Pramila Jayapal, the Democrat from Washington State. She sought to make clear that Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, cannot detain or deport U.S. citizens under any circumstances. Well, GOP lawmakers killed that bill. I know this is related to birthright citizenship. I know this is what some people refer to as the anchor baby clause. But keep in mind, this could be so far-reaching for government control over the population. Trump has already said that he's willing to revoke someone's citizenship. And if you can revoke someone's citizenship, then that means that the children of those that have had their citizenship revoked, let's say naturalized Americans, are now at risk also of being deported. Here's an example. If your parents came here legally from, I don't know, let's just say Tunisia. They came here legally, became naturalized American citizens, had their children born here in the U.S., lived here all their lives, and now, for whatever reason, these Tunisian parents have offended this administration in some way. Their offense can now be construed as a crime. Their citizenship can then be revoked. And now you, too, are at risk of being deported because you are now classified as a U.S. citizen born of immigrant parents. You can now also be detained and deported by ICE. But even beyond that, Trump has already said that he would be willing to deport U.S. homegrown citizens as well, to the likes of those notorious prisons like the one in El Salvador. No due process. You've just offended the administration, that's it. You've been labeled, put on a terrorist list, and shipped out of the country, regardless of your status as an American citizen. People who voted for this president and support his administration will live the rest of their lives in shame at the calamity that they brought upon all of our heads. In the meantime, peace.
This is, oh my God, I can't. Every single House Republican voted against an amendment that would have banned ICE from using federal funds to detain or deport U.S. citizens. It sounds crazy, but this really did happen. This wasn't about immigration loopholes or border security. This was about protecting American citizens from being wrongfully targeted by their own government. And they said no. They said no. ICE has already detained U.S. citizens by mistake. People have lost weeks, even months of their lives because of database errors and misidentifications. So this amendment would have added a basic safeguard, but instead lawmakers rejected it. Now, if your citizenship doesn't guarantee your freedom, then what does?
So I'm not seeing this reported on enough yet. Eric Swalwell just got out of his committee meeting. He's on the Judiciary Committee and made a video saying that every single Republican on the Judiciary Committee has voted in favor of deporting U.S. citizens. What are we doing? What are we doing? It still has to go through the House and Senate, but that is their intention. That is what they voted on in the Judiciary Committee. Every single Republican voted in favor. I hope all of these people get primaried if we get that far. House is going up for sale because this is wild. Stay safe, folks.
So this is breaking news. The Republicans just signed a bill that will allow ICE to deport U.S. citizens. At least that's what people on the left like this guy are saying.
Breaking news, every single Republican representative in the House, every single one, just voted to start deporting U.S. citizens to the slave labor camps in El Salvador.
Now, I'm curious, do these people think that we're not going to actually look into the bill to see what it says? So here's what the bill actually says. H.R. 994, or Access to Counsel Act. It's not about banning the deportation of U.S. citizens or in favor of deporting U.S. citizens. First of all, because that is unconstitutional. Secondly, what that bill actually does, it requires border agents to allow certain individuals like green card holders, visa holders, or people that have been let on parole from different countries. Access a lawyer if they have been detained at an airport for over an hour. This specific bill has nothing to do with legal citizens because it mainly benefits non-citizens. It says, and I quote, if they are detained by Customs and Border Protection, they should be allowed to call a lawyer or a friend before signing away their rights, like giving up a visa or a green card. So no, this bill is not about sending U.S. citizens to El Salvador and to whatever else they're claiming. It's just another pro-immigration policy. Because if this really was about protecting U.S. citizens, you wouldn't need to propose another bill because it's already in our Constitution. So make sure that you always read the fine print, not the headlines, because they don't think you're going to read those bills. So if you haven't followed me already, consider following me if you enjoy this type of content, because I always try to fact check every single thing that the liberal media tries to swing at us.
Did the House GOP vote yes on a bill that would allow ICE to deport U.S. citizens? No. You've undoubtedly seen those stories on this app, so here's what really happened. There's a reconciliation budget bill that's going through the House right now. Gist of it is they're laying out the budget that Immigration and Customs Enforcement has for the upcoming year. House Democrats kept putting up new amendments to the bill, trying to exert their influence onto it. House GOP rejected those amendments. One of the amendments put forth by Priya Jayapal said none of the funds in the bill could be used to detain or deport U.S. citizens. All the GOP members, of course, voted no. So immediately, people like the bozos at 5051 movement, they started going out there spreading the fake narrative that suddenly the GOP is trying to deport U.S. citizens. Eric Swalwell was out there making huge claims, ranting and raving about how the GOP was trying to deport U.S. citizens. The truth is that the language of that amendment matters quite a bit. What she said was that they weren't allowed to use any of the funds to detain or deport U.S. citizens. Yes, technically, it's illegal to deport U.S. citizens, even though 1 to 5% of all the people that Barack Obama deported were U.S. citizens, and I don't remember them getting mad about that. But the important word there is detain. What does detain mean in this context? Well, when you're prosecuting a crime or investigating a crime, you might have some overlap between U.S. citizens and people that would be on the radar of Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Why? Well, it turns out quite a lot of the crime that has to do with illegal immigration and stuff going over borders involves quite a few U.S. citizens who are involved in that crime. Now, sometimes federal agents might have to detain some of those folks who are wrapped up in that overlapping investigation. Thousands of people every single year are wrapped up in cases where there is human trafficking, drug smuggling, weapons, all kinds of stuff, all the things that you can imagine coming across the border. U.S. citizens are definitely involved in a lot of those crimes. They get detained. It gets processed through the courts. She knew that the GOP was going to vote no because obviously it's absurd to say that you can't use your funds to detain people who are in the normal course of your investigation. She knew that the amendment would get slapped down. That way they could have this outrage cycle about it. There is a long historical precedent in Washington, D.C. for this type of thing. Someone on the opposing side of a bill will put in a rider or try to vote in an amendment and that has two ridiculous things that are connected together. If you disagree with one of the ridiculous things alongside another sensible thing, then all of a sudden you are pro the ridiculous thing. It's like saying you're not allowed to use any of the money on the budget to pay for gas for your vehicles or to slap puppies. You say, okay, well, we definitely have to buy gas for the vehicles, so we're going to vote no on that. So the media comes out and says, House GOP votes yes on slapping puppies. This entire media narrative is just fear-mongering because they know that they can run stories like this for 24, 36, 48 hours before they leap onto the next thing. It's not real. It's fake. It's manufactured outrage. Don't let them manipulate you. It's so easy to debunk all of their lies. It takes 10 seconds on Google, or you can just follow me.
Right now, you're not going to believe this. I'm stunned that I have to tell you this. Republicans just voted, every single one of them, to allow Donald Trump to deport U.S. citizens. Not like deport unlawful, violent immigrants. No. They just voted in our committee to allow Donald Trump to deport U.S. citizens. That's where this is going. They just voted to allow that. I've never thought I would see this before. never thought it would come to this, but that's where we are right now. And so just on the other side of these doors is the hearing that I'm in right now. I'm going to get back in a second because we're still voting on other matters, but it's not shocking because this is always where it was going to go, but that's a dictatorship. That's a dictatorship. It's a fucking dictatorship. When you allow a president to deport your own constituents and learn the names of every Republican on the House Judiciary Committee because they just did that. They just voted to allow Donald Trump to deport American citizens. I mean, it's one of the most shocking things I've seen. I think my Democratic colleagues were stunned that they would want to give him so much power. But that's where it's going. It's not going to be a completed dictatorship, though, and I want to tell you why. He has the ambitions of being a dictator. For it to be a completed dictatorship, he needs you to not show up to the town square. He needs the press to not independently cover him, and he needs the courts to not hold him accountable. He should have a check by Congress. That's gone. These guys are not doing it. It's gone. But right now, the press is independently covering him. Courts continue to hold him accountable, and you keep going to the town square. So that's the sand in the gears of a dictatorship. And we gotta amp it up. We have to amp it up. Again, I just want to tell you why I invited you in here. House Judiciary Committee, right now in Congress, Republicans just voted to allow Donald Trump to deport American citizens. This is the same week that we learned that the president deported a 4-year-old American citizen with cancer. And this is where they're taking us. But we're not helpless. We're not helpless at all. You are awakened. You are going to the town squares. We have small victories that will bring us big victories. We're going to cut our time in hell in half by changing the majority in Congress and putting a check in place. We can get back into this hearing, but I wanted to tell you as soon as I sat in that room and saw that vote, Republicans on the Judiciary Committee just voted for Donald Trump to deport American citizens. Fuck that. We're not letting it happen.
Thank you for watching Great Minds Blacks.